Owen, I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing at this moment in time.
Do you want to know what's amazing? Is for over 120 minutes, I was cheering every kick of the ball that Italy made throughout the penalty shootout. Out of 9 of them, I was going absolutely ballistic for either Italy scoring or England missing. And it's funny how it boils down to one kick of the game by one player can change your emotions so dramatically. It was just a heartbreak. I'm so bittersweet, man. And like I said, you boys in the WhatsApp group, I would rather get that tattoo done 10 times over than Bukayo Saka have to go through what I'm sure he's going to go through, which is an absolute nightmare. I'm sure we'll touch on that in a bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, the game was incredible. No one could have predicted a start like they could for England. I said literally less than 24 hours ago with you, Owen, that I thought the game would be cagey. I thought the first half would be all about, feeling each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Not up, but out. I made that very clear for no particular reason whatsoever. And I honestly felt that this game was going to be about hesitancy, and then to have a goal 2 minutes in that completely changed the tone of the game. Anytime a team scores in the first 5 minutes of the game, you instantly look at that situation and say, how are they going to react to that? Are they going to double up their efforts? Are they going to put them away? In which case, in England against Italy, it's not easy to put a team like that away. If we're playing Sheffield United and we score in the first 2 minutes, then we should put them away. Italy, different situation. But you knew it was going to happen. You knew there was going to be, an equivalency. Unless there were incredible saves, unless there were incredible misses, you just knew Italy was gonna grow back into the game, and potentially get it done. And I'm gutted, Owen. I've had to explain to a lot of people why me, as a guy who was born in Fairfax, Virginia, USA, has such an attachment to this English national team, and I've explained it, and I don't need to defend it anymore. This meant so much to me, man, and I just to end the way that it did, with the compounded factor of having an Arsenal player on the last touch. I would have rather Jorginho made that kick than Saka had to miss it. I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted.
It's funny because I think even when right up until when we were joking about this little bet that we had going on right up until this evening, I was still always relatively confident that England would likely go on to lose, and partially the reason for that being was number one, the amount of experience within that Italy camp, from Jorginho, Verratti, Bonucci, Chiellini, Donnarumma. There's so much big game experience, and whilst I thought that England were actually very, very good, and surprised me to a certain extent, because I thought that they had quite an easy path in terms of their way to the final, including Germany, which is a shell of their former self. But I think what shone through more so than the experience of the Italians was the lack of experience from the England camp, and I think in a way a lot of ability and energy brought them through that, sort of closed that gap of experience. But really, when you think about it, you're talking the big leaders on the pitch for England. Your Harry Kane has never won a trophy. Harry Maguire has never won a trophy. Declan Rice has never won a trophy. Calvin Phillips, there's a lot of inexperience, and I think that's what told.
Every player for Italy plays for Juventus or one of the Milan teams, so they've won trophies. Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with what you're saying. It's just, I mean, the crazy thing is, and we're gonna get those of you who are joining us on open mic, and if you want to join us on the pod, I mean, look, this is a therapy session / if you want to be happy, if you want to be sad, if you want to share your feelings with us, just go to gooneropenmic.com and we'll bring you on the podcast. But no matter what you feel, this was a game that I think once we got into the 65th minute, 68th minute, once Italy scored, England's best shot, as ironically as it was to go to penalties, because the tide had turned so much at that point that we were that England, and I'm going to call England we. Okay, so I'm just going to apologize for that in advance. We didn't know what to do with the lead once we got it.
Yeah, and see that is probably what I would say is the mistake on England's part. I think they were too comfortable to rest on their laurels, and I think to a certain extent that could likely be down to one of two things: either nerves of the big occasion, or pragmatic management from Gareth Southgate, which is something that we have seen. That's not outside the realms of possibility that was all trickling down from Gareth Southgate, because I think with the style of players that England have, they tend to be all go. And a big mistake I thought that Gareth Southgate made was that he didn't make changes quick enough. Italy were freshening up their team, they were changing systems, and Gareth Southgate, I think, was slightly shell shocked and didn't know how to counter that. Well,
let's bring on our first and at this moment, our only open mic participant. If you want to join the podcast, if you want to have your say, go to GoonerOpenMic.com. We have somebody in the red room who has been in the chat for a long time. He's a friend of ours who we've had very good contact with in the Highbury squad. This is a guy who I'm thrilled to talk to finally. I wish it was under different circumstances, but Demsek, my friend.
Hi guys.
Welcome to the Gooners podcast. I wish this was
what? I'm just sad there's no tattoo.
Well, I mean,
how about having it's gone to Rome tattooed on?
I'm telling you, mate, nobody's happier than my missus. She was checking on the score the whole evening, and she never is an interest in football. But no, look, as I said, mate, for me, I would have got that tattoo 10 times over, rather than see Bukayo Saka go through what he's just gone through. How for you, as not just an Arsenal fan but an England fan, how did it feel for you? Because when he was walking up, I knew that he was missing it. He had missed his last 3 penalties. There was a question.
I didn't feel good about it at all. My son who's in the chat right now, and I hope he, if he wants to come on the podcast, buddy, you're more than welcome. But we were trying to figure out who the 5 penalty takers would be, and especially after those 2 last substitutes right at the end, I was worried it would be Saka. I never thought he would be fifth.
I'd got Sterling taking one, and not Saka.
But does that not show a lack of leadership from those England players and from Gareth Southgate to not step in and take somebody who is obviously extremely inexperienced at that level in national football and put one of the sort of more solid heads in to take that penalty?
It's a bit of a catch-22, because if Sterling says, me back end's going, for want of a better way of saying it, are you better off putting a young lad in who's keen to take it but inexperienced than really? I mean, Sterling at the end was shattered, wasn't he? You could see it. And he says, I ain't got it in me. What do you do? But I was just disappointed that Sterling didn't feel that he had to take it. I mean, like everybody else, I'd got 4 straight away. And in the end, I thought, well, maybe Maguire will take one. But I never thought Sterling wouldn't take one.
Do we want
to Bukayo?
I think we have to do this, and it's not because it's flashy or because we're all about the narrative and stuff, but I want to nip something in the bud right now, and I'm going to bring I'm going to bring someone who I love dearly, and this is my son Jake, into the podcast. Dempsey, this is my son. He's 15 feet away from me in the living room. We've been rooting for England this entire time together. And we just had a little moment before the podcast went on where we went through that shootout and figured out who made shots and who didn't. And I'm already seeing it. And I don't want to dwell on this, but I have to. We're already seeing it about who made the penalties for England and who missed. And I mean, now Dempsey, we're not the exact address, but where approximately do you live?
Well, I live in the Midlands of the UK. Right. I'm from down south, but I currently live in the Midlands.
All right, so you're right in the middle of things, as it were. And I mean, Are you worried that the narrative is going to be that Maguire and Kane made their penalties and Saka and Rashford and Sancho didn't?
Well, actually, I think Rashford.
I don't want to think that I'm just making more of this than it is, but I've seen in a lot of our friends, we have chat groups, Owen.
Well, you're obviously, look, this is a very, very, very touchy subject, and obviously you're teetering around it. And let's be quite frank, it's already taken place in overwhelming amount of numbers. There's a massive amount of racist scrutiny going towards the guys who missed their penalties, and this is often, I think this has always been that sort of bitter pill within the England fan bases, because
you can blame Arsenal players for missing or Manchester United players for missing, although one made it, one missed when it came. You can do that, but this is just setting up for a narrative that's going to crush me. It's going to absolutely.
Yeah, no, I don't like that narrative at all. That in fact, it hadn't occurred to me until you just said it, because I couldn't believe that Rashford had missed.
I didn't either.
Never thought that Rashford would miss. I don't see players as black and white or whatever. They're just football players. They may play for a team I support, or they might not. I mean, I've supported England tonight, and that's just the way the game's gone. Right. Unfortunately, there are going to be those idiots that are going to take a different view.
Well, and I hate to make it a talking point, because you're almost shining a light on discussing things that if you didn't shine a light on, maybe, but if I don't shine a light on that, it's not going to go away, because it's already happening. No. Jake, you and I watched that game together. You're a 17-year-old who grew up in 2003 in the United States, has spent maybe 4 weeks total in your life in London. But explain to me your connection to this club. Like what did this game mean to you, and how are you feeling at this moment, to put you on the spot?
Well, frankly, as an England fan, because I have the connection because you have the connection. So because it's been so important to you, it's going to be I feel not obligated, but I just have the same interest. And so right now I'm just, with everything that we've been saying about the pen misses as well, I'm seeing it already, which is ridiculous. It's 15 minutes after the game ends, and I'm seeing it already all over social media, and it's awful. But
you've been dealing with stuff with your close friend group. You've been dealing with stuff since the round of 16, where they were, because your friends in general,
they hated England so much, and
your friends. I mean, look, I know your friends. They're fantastic people, but they're Real Madrid and Barcelona fans. They're international fans. They're FIFA. They're the FIFA generation. Let's be honest with you. So are you, except for me. But the hate for England from those guys, and the lack of respect. I mean, the laughing about how they're never going to get past Germany, which, I don't know anyone that would have been so obvious about us not beating Germany. but I mean, it's crazy. And even when England was up 1-0 today, they were still going ridiculously nuts on you.
But here's a good question for you, Jake, okay? Because as somebody who has embraced England so much, okay, often I think when you're outside the circle of supporting England, England's often a bit of a laughing stock of the national tournaments. Their fan base is always one that is very passionate and gets behind, and is often let down. Very much, jokes aside, very much like Spurs would, always the ambition but never the glory. But is there a certain sense of glory with this England team, and how far they have come against the odds with teams like France and Portugal and Italy, all these big teams, and England have got so far and triumphed against maybe some of the odds and overperformed?
Yeah, from what I've seen, everybody's hating on England about how they had easy way to get to the final here, and when you win the group, you get put in a better spot in terms of a tournament. So it's part, there is some luck in the way of them getting to the final, but they still beat Germany. They still put themselves in a good position where they wouldn't have to play against teams like France and Portugal and Spain and those kinds of teams. So I feel like the best thing to say is obviously they should have a lot to be proud of, because they got to a final, and I think there is more to come. But I think Obviously, I wish it went the other way, but I definitely think they have a lot to be proud of in terms of getting this far.
And Damsick, when we look at England's performances throughout this tournament, I would argue maybe that this tournament has just come too soon for this particular group of players. I mean, there is, all jokes aside, a really solid foundation of young players within the English system now. And do you have sort of high hopes for the next tournament, or do you think that maybe we've just seen England peak and miss an opportunity?
No, I genuinely hope that this is a stepping stone for the next tournament, that this will help them push on. I mean, was it 2012 Stockley Park was built, or the design to built, and something like 2013 that I think Greg Dyke said something like, we're building for the future. And I think we're now starting to see the fruition of the work that's been put in the English game, because if you look at the Italian league, the German league, French league, their leagues aren't necessarily, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, diluted by foreign players. So they have a lot of homegrown players that could compete against each other, but because the Premiership is so competitive and so big globally, the pool that we can pick from has in a way been diluted, because we're unable to bring through the numbers of players for the national team that other countries can do. So it's where the Premier League is a curse. The Premier League, but a curse for the national team.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
The players on the English national team, I mean, think about who England had on the bench in this tournament. Jadon Sancho most of the time. Foden most of the time. Saka some of the time. Grealish most of the time.
Every game.
I mean, it's hard not to think that the future is bright for this national team. And yeah, I mean, the opportunities are few and far between. Although in 18 months there's a World Cup, and then I guess in another 3 years there's a Euro, and then another 4 years there's another World Cup. I mean, I hate to use the word golden generation, but this will ultimately, and we could look back on this 15 years from now and say this was the height of Arsenal, of England's resurgence. And I hope that we're not looking back on that. But I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. This was unexpected. This was unexpectedly early. This wasn't unexpected.
Can I get off my being polite high horse and come down and start throwing some shots, okay? Because
I think we've gotten through the 18 minutes of me being angry and sad, and
no,
but are you suggesting that Kane's past it?
Just don't, don't turn my son into a cunt.
I'm pretty sure that you're well capable of doing that on your own. I'll leave that job to you. What was I going to say? No, but the issue I do have is with Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford, because for me, where England fell short this evening was where I have criticised England for years, and it's the arrogance in big moments where you haven't earned the right to be arrogant, to be taking stylistic type penalties against one of the best keepers on the planet. And for me, that just embodies everything that is wrong with the mindset of that England camp. It's just a sense of arrogance that hasn't been earned. Would it be fair to say that?
I mean, Demsek, I'm going to ask you that question, but I mean, like, look, in a penalty shootout, I don't know that you can hyperanalyze it, because if you were, you would start with Jorginho making a guaranteed penalty. You would not start with him being the one person that missed one, or one of two people that missed one.
Fair dues to Jordan Pickford, who was absolutely outstanding in that penalty shootout too.
I mean, he did everything he possibly could, but I mean, so I don't know that it's that much about. I don't love the 118th minute substitutes coming on just to take a pen. We've seen it happen with keepers before. We've seen what's his name from No, we've seen the guy come in from the Netherlands to for penalty shootouts in the World Cup before. Who
was it? Tim Krul?
Yeah, we've seen Tim Krul come in. Exactly. There's my boy. We've seen him come in to stop penalties, but to bring in a guy fresh in 119 minutes and then have him come in and take a penalty, I look, as big of an athlete as I am, clearly, and as in shape as I am, and in tune to the mentality of an athlete as I clearly am, I don't know if that's the best idea, bringing two guys in the 119th minute and then having them basically decide the European Championship. But that's just me. Jake, we're gonna let you go so that you can have the rest of the evening. I love having you on the podcast. You're my favorite guest because you're handsome. And Owen, anything else you want to say to the child who's going to be the man who carries the Gooners podcast episode or season 45 forward?
Just learn from your father's mistakes.
Valuable advice.
And your mother's a lovely woman.
Yes, there's tears going on, and it's not just because England lost. It's because he realized that I'm his dad. All right, my friend, I love you, buddy. And we're gonna bring on Daniel now. So all right, so let's see how we get Jake off. Daniel Bailey is on the podcast with us. My friend, how you feeling at this moment in time?
Apologies if the camera angle is incredibly wonky. But yeah, do you know what, lads? Like, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm gutted that England lost, but I'm more gutted for Saka. I've got to be honest. Like when he missed that penalty, I was crying. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I was in tears. Not because England lost. Yes, that was a gutting, but for that 19-year-old kid to be on the biggest stage of his career at that time to miss a penalty. Do you know what? I hope that. Everybody at Arsenal and everybody in this England team is surrounding him with love and just putting their arms around him, because I tell you what, at 19 years old, that is a big moment in his career. And I'm gutted because I know, and we've seen it already with the racist abuse that he's been getting on Instagram, which is completely unacceptable. And it's a big moment in his career. He's got to come through that, and and I'm credit to Gareth Southgate, because as soon as he missed it, he went straight over to him and put his arms around him. And do you know what? I'm gutted as an England fan for losing this, but like I said, I'm more gutted for him as a 19-year-old kid. People will question, should he have been put in that position? Should he have been taking it? But you know what? He's had a brilliant tournament. He's carried the team. He's been brilliant.
He absolutely should have been put in that moment if he wanted to be, and he wouldn't have been in that moment if he didn't want to be. I credit him. I credit him for stepping up more than I criticize him for missing. That's it.
Do you know what? A lot of people are blaming Southgate for putting him in that position, but do you know what?
It's an easy thing to do.
I don't listen. Garrett, this England team has carried the nation. Listen, we've all, whether it be England or whether it be the United States of America, everybody has experienced this pandemic in a way that, listen, we've all been going through tough times, but the way that Gareth Southgate and the way that this England team have reignited the country of England. And do you know what? I'm going to be honest, right? Before this tournament, I had fallen out of love with football, because the way that Arsenal have been playing this season, the way that we have just massively they've let us down. I went out of last season going, do you know what? I've had enough of football for a summer, and watching England has made me fall back in love with football, the excitement, the passion, and I just at this current time and moment, I'm just so gutted for Saka. I really hope that this doesn't ruin his career, because he's been on a magical journey, not just with England but with Arsenal. He's been on a magical journey, and I hope that when he gets back to the Emirates, that the crowd cheer him, that the crowd put their arms around him.
Daniel, they will. Daniel, they will. And you know, there are specific people who fight adversity in their career and it ruins them. Bukayo Saka has never, ever shown that he can be told he can't do something. I fully expect him to basically kick on, to use this as fuel. I mean, the guy. I mean, the kid doesn't seem to be a, for lack of a better word, a puss. I mean, like he put himself in that position. He was the first substitute for England, not Sancho, not Foden, not Grealish, him, and he got the start. So did he lose England the World Cup? Fuck no.
Do you think
Do
you think he rushed the penalty?
That too. He definitely didn't lose us. He definitely didn't lose England the World Cup, and I also would say that he didn't lose the Euros.
Do you think he rushed the penalty?
I don't know. I mean, like he did what he
No, I
wanted to
don't
do, and it didn't work out. I mean,
the thing is, like I look on it, and actually, where England lost the game tonight, and this is my honest opinion, we lost it as soon as we went a goal up. We kind of sat back and thought, okay, this is comfortable. This is the best start we could have had. We didn't. When we went one goal up, we didn't take the game to Italy, and actually, Italy were very lucky. Surprisingly as well, Italy are the first team to win 2 consecutive penalty shootouts in a European tournament, which is they're the first team to do it in a major tournament. But I think we maybe lost it in that first half when we had the best chance. We kind of sat too comfortable. We kind of was treating it a bit too comfortable, but you know what?
No one expects to score in the second minute of a game. It changes the game in ways that you cannot even possibly.
But this is the one thing what I will tell England fans as a whole to pump the brakes, because throughout the competition, I've heard nothing but praise for Gareth Southgate, saying that he navigated the competition perfectly in terms of getting a goal and defending quite well. And do you not think that it would be quite hypocritical now to turn around and say that he had the wrong approach by sitting back and trying to protect that 1-0 lead?
I don't think that was Southgate's idea. I think the players shrank. You saw it in the Denmark game before, when Denmark came back. Pickford was strangely just constantly kicking the ball out. They've not been in that position before, and the Italians' mentality was definitely stronger than the English. I still feel, and I know the reality is not the case, had this not been England's first final with this group, I think that group would have beaten Italy. But the Italians scored, and you could see it change.
Daniel, were you going to come in?
Do you know the thing is as well? I actually really agree with what you're saying, because England, I feel, and I still feel like this. I feel like it's a progression with this team. I feel like that in 2018 it was heartbreaking, but I felt at the time, do you know what? Actually, it's part of the process. You know, to get to a semi-final of a World Cup and then to lose to Croatia. I feel like this team is always learning, and this will be a massive learning curve for the England team. Like you said, first time being in a final, and we didn't know how to handle that. Italy knew how to handle that. They've been in countless European and World Cup finals, so therefore they knew how to handle that. I still feel we're on the cusp of something special with this England team. Yes, this final has been a disappointment, and actually I'm not disappointed that we lost in terms of the fact that, okay, yes, listen, penalties are a lottery. You can lose them. If we'd have got battered in normal time, it would have been completely different. But I still feel England gave Italy a good game. Maybe not manage the final as well as they did because lack of experience. But you have to remember the average age of this England squad is 24 years of age.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
This,
Daniel, there's so much to look forward to. Demsek, do you? I mean, do you? Clearly, you know, your average age isn't 24. Nothing personal, but I mean, do you
That's
look
21 and a half.
do you look forward to the next 10 years, or are you basically scarred by the last 40 years and say like I mean, I think this is probably our best as England best chance to win a major tournament, but I also don't think that it's over now. So
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the future. I mean, because anything can happen in reality. But I'm also very pleased that it's something that the Football Association put into place years ago, and that's finally coming to fruition. To for want to change to something else. You know, it's taken England a long time to turn around from being quite dire to being where they are now. And I see a similarity with a club that we all share. You know, but sometimes it's about patience, isn't it?
is it talent or coaching though? Because the amount of talent we have right now seems incredible, but the coaching seems underwhelming. Are we missing one or the other, or is it just that? I mean, I'm not going to say that Roger Hodgson was the lead singer of Supertramp. I'm not going to say that Roy Hodgson was was an incredible coach and we just didn't have the players, because I don't rate him as a coach at all. But over the last 20 seasons since Brian Robson in 1990 and before, like, the players are going to win us something at this point. We have amazing English players. So,
but it's about having a team, isn't it? And that, to me, isn't just the players. That's the manager as well, and them all working together, them all understanding what they need to do. Southgate's changed the team shape for this game. Changed the team shape for other games, and it's about the players buying into that and doing that, but also having the intelligence on the pitch to say, oh, we need to do something a little bit different. And that's what was missing tonight, is that the occasion got the better of the players. For me personally, I'd probably had Henderson in the middle of the park instead of Rice, and I brought Rice on late on.
Is there something?
Fresh legs
24 hours ago, didn't we?
Daniel, is there something to be said about the fact that one dugout had Gareth Southgate and the other had someone with the pedigree of Roberto Mancini? Do you think that played a factor, that maybe Gareth Southgate's inexperience played a part in that? Because to me, when I looked at both teams on paper, I think that there's a gulf in class between England setup and Italy setup, in my opinion. Whether experience comes into it or not, in terms of quality, you would say that England probably were the more favourable side.
Do you know what? I don't necessarily think it was a golfing class. I just actually think that the occasion got to the players a little bit after they scored that first goal. And I think actually they kind of got a false sense of security, in the sense that when we went 1-0 up, we thought, oh, do you know what? We're comfortable. You know, this is a comfortable night. I ain't going to lie. Me as a fan at half time, I was getting out the popcorn. I was like, this is going to be a comfortable night. But do you know what?
Really, Daniel? I mean, like my personal point of view was for 88 minutes, I was bleeding out of my anus because we take the lead in the Euro final in the second minute, and I'm like, okay, now something has to go wrong. Like, I don't think that the club got overconfident. I just think that they didn't have the confidence to believe that they could close it out, which is two different things.
But then that comes down to lack of experience.
How did we get in this position? It's not the same as we deserve to be in this position.
You think Italy, though, they went a goal behind, and they were pretty much the second team until half time, and then the second half they essentially just did what Italy do. And I was watching the game, and I was like, Italy's experience is showing through, and you could see that. Okay, they may not have been the better team, but the experience of the Italian team was showing through. And actually, you know what? Sometimes in life you need to go through this. And the semi-final and final. Listen, we can't get any more experience as a nation. We've been in a semi-final, we've had heartbreak. We've been in a final, we've had heartbreak. So the next progression is to win it, to go that one better and win it. And when you look at actually what Gareth Southgate's done, he's actually progressed from every experience that he's achieved as an England manager and with this England team. So the next progression is to win it. And do you know what? I actually think about this, and I'm not just saying this because England lost and I'm trying to make excuses, but you know what? If we'd have won, there would have been a section of people going, well, it was too easy for England. You lot were at Wembley, your home stadium. You had it set up for you. You bottled it. You would have.
That section of people, I would have done things to.
I don't think
that would have.
Though.
That would have been
pathetic. Win something.
True though.
Think, I feel with this England team we're going to win something. Whether it will be Qatar. It might be interesting, but I do think we're going to win something with this England team. It would have been so easy to win it at Wembley and gone, do you know what? Yeah, home fans behind us. And but actually, do you know what? I looked at that game, and I know they aren't the best team, but I looked at that game when we played Ukraine, and you could see that the pressure was off, and the pressure maybe by England fans put the pressure on this England team, because let's be honest, the England fans, and me included, I'm gonna lie, me included, was going, it's coming home, and everybody in the pub was singing, and listen, it's natural when you get to a final and you've not been there for 55 years.
It's not a normal situation because the pressure and the narrative just overtake the situation. So
there's also humility,
Here we go. All right, Demsek, we're gonna. I'm thrilled that you joined us tonight.
You're welcome.
What is your name, by the way? Your name is not Demsek.
Well, my first name's Kevin.
Okay. Well,
that's really overwhelming.
It's a joy to put a face with a name.
It's that Irish ancestry of mine.
Good man. What are you, like a quarter Irish?
Something bit less than that.
Bit less. Yeah. Well, you're almost a quarter, 100%.
Well, between that and the shirt that you have on and our interactions in our podcast and on the Highbury Squad, I love you, mate. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna bring on somebody new, but anything else? Any final things you want to say about?
No, I don't think so. I think I've said everything. I just still think maybe there should be a tattoo that says it's gone to Rome.
Well, we have an announcement, and the tattoo isn't happening. But unfortunately, I've got to do something now.
Yeah,
which is not cool at all. But I'm nothing if not a team player. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us, mate.
See ya.
And we'll see you very soon.
See you again.
All right, so we're going to bring on a very good friend of mine. He is not American, but he lives in America. He makes incredible T-shirts. He's a very good friend of mine, and I want to hear the raw reactions from his feelings about this game right now. So, Steven.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Nola Gooner, Stephen Feely, feestease.me.
That's it. That's me.
But what's going on with you right now? I mean, like, are you happy or are you angry right now? I don't think we've really spoken that much about this tournament.
No, I mean, look, I'm actually more Irish than I am English. So I very early on made a decision to really support Ireland. But my kid, he was very much into England. He really wanted England to win. But I've also got Italian in-laws back home. in England. So it's a very, very conflicted time in my
You're
house.
the United Nations of penis at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, it was wild, man. It was quite the
So,
roller
so,
coaster
wait, so
today.
all right. So I know what New Orleans is like. You didn't go to the pub to watch the game? Or
No,
you watched
I
it?
almost did, but then I thought I'm just England fans, man. You know, I was just like, if England won, I'd be like, oh, you know, and if they lost, I'd be like, oh, you know. So I was just
All right. Fair enough. Not a great fan of the situation, but
no. I've been around it my whole life, so I always
All right,
had
so
a
you watched
discussion.
it at home in the
Yeah.
borough of New
Yeah,
Orleans?
one thing, Mike.
No, you don't get to do this on a podcast.
So tell me this, mate. Right? So
Yeah.
you're somebody who cheers on Ireland.
Yeah.
You're in the exact same situation as me. How was it for you when you seen Bukayo Saka?
Dick?
No, yeah. Well, it comes as a package. How did it feel for you watching Bukayo Saka step up to take that deciding penalty?
As soon as he stepped up, my heart
You
sank.
knew, yeah.
I was just
couldn't
no, this isn't not right. Because I mean, if he scored, then you're gonna explode. Like no matter who you're supporting, whoever what your allegiances are as a nationality, that's your boy. You just you want him to just do well, and I was no, because it was just going downhill for England. It was just
things to think a bit for
yeah.
a bunch of people.
And then because once Saka comes on, then I'm on board. Let's go England for him, and I've got lots of English friends and family as well, so it's great. But just once he stepped up and he took and it was an okay penalty. It wasn't a great penalty.
Nah,
and then,
it wasn't great. Tell me this, out of interest. See, when you're watching England play, how does it feel for you to see Declan Rice and Jack Grealish parading about as the pride of England?
That's another podcast, man. that's just I always imagine what Ireland would be had they had those. They would be the superstars of that team, and now they're like, okay, Declan Rice has a start, but he's doing all right. But Grealish should be a starter for England. He's good enough, but he would definitely be a starter for Ireland and would have changed Ireland. Ireland has a very shallow pool of players to choose from. So
that narrative isn't really where I want to go with this podcast tonight.
Well, he's just taking his opportunity to talk about it.
But
yeah, no, but in terms of just because it's interesting being quite objective to an extent, the game today, and then seeing Saka, and then they dwelling on his tears, man. It's just leave him alone. Just stop it. It's but they had the right thing. I mean, I think Steve McManaman said it on as much as I can understand Steve McManaman. He was saying why is Saka the fifth guy? Okay, Saka may have said, "I'll do it, boss," but let's be responsible here. He's a 19-year-old kid, and yeah, he's got the balls to step up and do it. But why isn't Sterling doing that? That should be. He's been the guy banging in the goals.
I may or may not have had something to drink tonight, but I thought Sterling had been subbed out. He wasn't subbed out. Him and Mason Mount. I thought because I said that to a few people, and they were like, "Okay, well then that makes sense." But if I was wrong,
no, he was still in there because he took out when he brought on Sancho and Rashford. He took off Henderson doing his old Southgate's trademark. Let's take off someone I brought on. Sub. And then Sancho came on cold, and he says, "Hey, go take some penalties." Yeah, cheers, mate. It's terrible.
I wonder if Gareth Southgate panicked in that moment of Saka taking the penalty, because remember in Euro 96 he did the same thing, obviously with himself, and he missed that penalty. I wonder if he just panicked and maybe thought, you know what, Saka's strong mentality, he might change the narrative, and maybe he thought, you know what, I'm going to give him a chance.
I'm glad Saka. Look, it's raw right now, but there were 11 players on the pitch for England. Saka was a player that was given, and it's been the case throughout the entire tournament, where he was the first guy off the bench before Foden when he was healthy, before Grealish, before Sancho, and to start most games in front of Mount and all those guys. I look at that as a positive. The fact that he missed the penalty is
Overall,
Gunning.
definitely.
It is awful. It is,
Mike
it is
Hurts.
absolutely
Wait.
horrendous.
Let's get it from the other side here. Mike, how are you? Are you good? As somebody who
No, you have
follows...
to let him answer the question.
No, I know. I don't really care how he is, to be honest with you. I just want him to throw some digs at England right now. Okay, it's a very limited window of opportunity that I have here, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
Trust the English. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm fully man. I'm Italian. Okay, I know the accent may not sound it, but I am. Mike, as somebody who follows Italian football, do you think that this was the classic English thing of underestimating your opponent and overestimating what they had in their locker?
A bit. I mean, when it comes to the way the game started and the lineup that came out, I think it lent to that narrative of being overconfident because, scoring within the first 2-3 minutes. The first half, I felt very comfortable saying that England could have scored another goal. I mean, the Italians were barely getting. I think it was literally a free kick and a penalty that literally I think Maguire it was or Stones that passed it out of bounds, so they got a corner. So I could see why they got their hopes up. It's really difficult to like get a real feel for what the fans feel because I'm on social media and if I could divert just a little bit, I will say that I'm going to share this for dear listener. I'm going to say I fell victim of online toxicity, and I think I allowed it to get into my head a little bit more. So going into this game, I had a little bit more pent up anger for England, like for them to lose more than I actually anticipated, to be completely honest. So it was a really weird experience. But yeah, I don't know if it was like fan euphoria or what, but online.
Are you sure you're not part Irish as well? Because you sound like a bitter bastard to me. You could be Irish.
No, 100. Look, if you're asking me if I'm happy, I'm thrilled Italy won. I've said it on the air before. I've said it on another podcast. I've watched. I'm obviously not Italian. We joking around, the Mexican flag and Italian flag, they look the same, right? Just, minus the eagle and whatnot. I've been watching Italy. It's kind of like been my European team to support since the 90s. And that's mostly because I would watch Serie A and I always liked the players. So I had the connection. So going into the game, I was 100% rooting for Italy and they accomplished it. And I celebrated it. Penalties were absolutely wild. I went to this restaurant, this bar called Buffalo Wild Wings here in America. We had a really good crowd.
It's a strange bar. There's no other bar like it, but it's called Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings. And it's
there's 97 different Buffalo Wild Wings in the States. No, I'm happy for you, man. Look, you have been supporting Italy since the start. You haven't just been against England, yeah. Although you have been, but you haven't just been against them like Eoin. You've been supporting a team that means a lot to you. And look, I'm happy for you. I'm thrilled that you're on the podcast. I think we should probably introduce Sebi at this point because I just added him to the podcast 10 minutes ago and then said absolutely nothing. And it seems as though we just have a guy who's just out in the middle of nature and now he's gone.
He's gone.
I have it on good authority that there's wild bears and deers where he's at. So maybe a bear got him.
I mean, I think he passed away just about 5 seconds ago. And now we don't have to put him back on the podcast again. So Stephen,
mm-hmm.
What shirts are we going to make over this?
I have an idea. I actually have something I'd like to talk to you about, Stephen. Okay, because we had a little bet on. I'm not sure if you know. Yeah. Mike, feel free to play the clip of
I don't want to play the clip anymore because the clip is no longer applicable. I loved the clip when it was applicable, but you roped me into something now that this was the case.
I'm telling you, and I'll make this bet with you right now, here and now, with Hertz as our witness. All right, if England win the Euros, I will get "It's Coming Home" tattooed on me. All right, that is it. And I'm not. I don't throw things out lightly. All right, I will.
No.
Okay, I'm telling you, and I'll make.
That was when there were 16 teams left in the tournament. So
I stand by my
I've now been
whoa.
I've been now roped into a situation where now that it was the finals, I have to add some sort of collateral forfeit situation, which no one's calling it a forfeit in the States, but that's apparently what it's called. And now I'm the one that has to do stupid shit. How is that?
So essentially, everybody's favorite YouTuber, Mr. Lee Gunner, has a merchandise range, and Mike has agreed to wear Mr. Lee Gunner's merchandise for 20 episodes of this season, but we're not sure that it's going to be available in size or anything. So if needs be, Stephen, would you be able to make us some tailor-made merchandise?
You're not only making me do that, but you're also making it very clear that I'm fucking.
I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure if I can make any.
I can't believe you agreed to do that.
Lee Gunner stuff. I don't want a Lee Gunner coming after me.
Were you drunk when you agreed to do that?
Now, Daniel, I know that your friends are not always directly opposed to the friends that I have. I know that we have some mutual friends and that we have some mutual not friends, but yeah, I now have to buy either a shirt or a sweatshirt. It's up to Eoin at this point because those are the.
Is he gonna? My only worry is we're gonna have to do this under a different name because he's not gonna send it to Mike Feinberg.
No, I already put in Rufus McClanahan.
He probably doesn't send it out himself.
To see whether they sent it to the US, and they do. It's just like 15 quid shipping instead of. So yeah, I'm gonna have to spend money on that. I'm gonna have to.
Do you think the tattoo was gonna be free?
No, and I recognize that. So yeah, so look, I'm doing it. I'm not worried. I'm not weaseling.
I'm not worried. You don't sound worried at all.
Make sure you have a skin full of alcohol before you do the stream.
But the original bet was he said, okay, you have to wear Lee Gunner paraphernalia in every podcast for our next season. And I'm like, I'm not wearing that goddamn shirt when we chat with Alan Smith and and Lee Dixon. Like I'm just not gonna do that. And he says, okay, so 10. So he was trying to say every podcast that we don't do them. And I said, okay, 20 podcasts. So August 2nd, we're gonna do a 4-hour podcast that consists of 20 minutes per podcast.
Anyway, lads,
Don't
back
do
to the
it.
Euros. Okay, what I want to do is throw it around to the boys.
Let's get Sebby in this.
Yeah, get Sabby. You can join in this, but your connection is so far behind that
our resident Frenchman
will let you catch up. Lads, player of the tournament. Let's throw it around there for the Euros. Who are we going to start with?
Hello,
Hertz,
everybody.
you're a host, so his connection's like mine was in my car. Player of the tournament, Hertz.
I'm going to go with Bonucci. He's been an absolute defensive beast, and he got the equalizer today. Stepped up, scored a penalty. It's been fantastic. I mean, I think when it comes to the Italian side, the only one you could put ahead of him is potentially Donnarumma, but that's because they went to penalty shootouts and whatnot. But I'm going with them simply. They won, so it's very easy for me. But if you're asking me to pick an Englishman, I got to go with Raheem Sterling. Even though I'm consistently right now currently arguing with a set of friends of mine as to why he was not one of the ones that took the penalty. So, but as far as performances within the 90 minutes,
to be honest
that's
with you,
all him.
I thought I did not look. I may or may not have had mood-altering substances during the game, and I thought that he had been subbed off by the time that the penalties were taken. So for him to not be one of the five, I'm actually really, really questioning that.
I could be wrong. I feel like Henderson was on. I feel like he came on. So
Am I wrong?
Henderson
came up. Okay, so I was thinking. I was looking at the lineup, and I thought Sterling. I thought of Grealish, players with a vast majority but for one reason or another, I saw in a group. I really don't know if I couldn't find the quotes. I were looking for them, and it said Southgate said that he chose the players in that order to protect them, which I don't even know what that means. But I haven't been able to find.
No, you do it to win the tournament. You don't protect people. You win the tournament. So
anyway, player of the tournament, Stephen.
I mean, I think Bonucci's a good shout. I think him and Chiellini at the back were phenomenal for most of the tournament. Pretty immovable for the most part. And then he gets the goal, bags his penalty at the end of the last game. So I think overall, I mean, Italy were overall really impressive. So for it not to be an Italian player, I think will be surprising. And like we said, with Sterling, yeah, he played well. We got the goals, but overall, he basically disappeared in the final. For Sterling himself. So
yeah. What I was saying in the match when we were up 1-0, and I was saying this to Drew because we had a massive back-to-back conversation going on, and I was like, Luke Shaw may have just sealed his man if the game had ended that way.
Yeah.
If that game had ended that way, I was like, Luke Shaw will get the recency bias of playing well in the tournament and then winning the final if it had ended up that way. And I'm like, Sterling's been the better player, but Luke Shaw will probably win. Also, Luke Shaw is white. So I was like, the press will obviously give that to him.
On the show.
But no, you've got to name probably Bonucci or one of those guys. I mean, England players that would win the player of the tournament. Raheem Sterling would be my guy. No question about it. He was fantastic in this tournament. And Luke Shaw was probably the number 2.
Daniel?
Yeah, for me, do you know what? It's going to be either, for me, I'm undecided between Raheem Sterling, and I know he didn't have a great game in the final, and the same with my second player. He didn't have a great game in the final, but he was a breakout star, was Locatelli. For me, it was probably. Is
that just because you want? That's just because you want us to sign him, mate.
But
he played 45 minutes
watching.
in the whole
But
tournament.
you know what though? Locatelli had a great breakout. Nobody really knew who he was until these Euros, and actually he came onto the scene in these Euros, scored a couple of goals, and actually now everyone wants to sign him. So for that, you can't really look at the Euros and go, who else was the breakout star of the Euros? Maybe Renato Sanchez you could look at, but for me, Locatelli's probably edging it just because people are now going, oh, do you know what? I want to sign this guy.
There are gerbils all over the Arsenal Twitter sphere that are raving about Renato Sanchez at this point. So
I think that when I look at player of the tournament, it's a shame, maybe not a shame that these teams didn't get so far. But I think Paul Pogba was outstanding in the group stages. So was Gini Wijnaldum.
That's the thing. Can you have a player of a
for me?
For me,
you have to get to at least the semis to get it. But there's one that I would name, and it's just heartbreaking that he didn't really get to go. And correct me, our resident pronunciation expert Mike Hernandez will correct me if I'm wrong, but Spinazzola for Italy was absolutely phenomenal.
They missed him
until they got that injury, and I do think that they lost a bit of their bite when he fell out of the side. So for me, he would be my player of the tournament simply because it was taken away from him rather than him fizzing out. So yeah, I don't know, but I think I'm gonna have to
had
go soon, boys.
Spinazzola for dinner last night, and it fucking sucked. So yeah.
Have spuds.
No.
So this is for me for an Arsenal fan that likes Italy. This has been one of the more bittersweet finals that I've seen, and Owen's reaction to the Saka miss was just absolutely staggering.
You had no desire for England to win this game, but then the way
Zero.
that it ended, what did it give you?
Zero.
That's what I want, the raw reaction, because you and I'm not blaming you. I'm the exception to the rule. of an American who's rooting for England. You wanted England to die, but like the way it happened,
I never said that.
I know. But the way it happened, like that's what I'm curious about with the whole Saka thing. Does that change anything for you, or like?
Yeah, well, again, it goes.
I'm not
back
saying it should. I'm not saying it shouldn't. I'm not judging you by that. I'm just wondering what your reaction is.
No, it was extremely bittersweet. That's what I can tell you is because like I'm watching it and look, we all consume a substantial amount of club football, not spaghetti, of club football more than international. So it's very normal, I believe, to be attached to club players. So a whole lot more, and the fact that he's hailing and all this kid, we saw him debut when he was like 17 or so, and so the attachment, I can't help but look at Saka and think, oh, he's an Arsenal player. I mean, my two buddies I was watching the game with, who are not deeply invested in football at all, but they'll come along and watch the games with me because I don't have a lot of like local friends that like the sport. The minute Saka stepped on, my friend Anthony goes, the fucking Arsenal player, just to wind me up, right? And he knows of Saka because of Arsenal, and like he'll Google search it just to take the piss out of me when they lose. So
and I've got friends who have lived in England, but they're Arsenal fans. I mean, like I got friendships where and they're taking the piss, but they're like, who was it that scored the first goal for Arsenal or for England today? They're like, whoa, are we? Yeah, we're like, are we all Manchester United fans because of Luke Shaw? And I'm like,
no, England player.
He was going in on me for obvious because he knows that I'm a bear that can be easily poked, but he's like, oh, so we're all Manchester United fans now because Luke Shaw scored. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works exactly. But and I see now a photo in our
good friend.
I don't think I'm going to enjoy this very much.
This is from our good friend Sebi.
Yeah, our good friend Sebi. Sebi, who's been in the in the chat, but his
he's
internet.
He's texting me right now. His internet is just horrible. He wasn't able to get on either. No.
All right, so the game's been over. I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. We're going to finish this off in about 9 minutes because we're coming up on 7:30, 12:30 time. But Daniel, encouraged about the future of England or absolutely gutted at this moment?
Yes.
I think
yes.
I think I'm encouraged because we forget. Okay, listen, this final hurts. It absolutely does, and it's painful on an England level and as an Arsenal fan for Bukayo Saka. But we've had some achievements in this tournament. We've managed to beat Germany in the last 16 for the first time, which is we've never done. We've got to a final, which we've never done, and it would have been so easy had we had won it on home soil. And I think a lot of people will be criticizing us for that. So the fact that we didn't do it, maybe it's a blessing when we do win it. It won't be the stars won't be as aligned, and I had we won it, people would be going, oh, well, you had it easy. You had all your games at Wembley apart from the quarterfinals. And so maybe it's a blessing that we didn't win it on home soil. Maybe winning it away from home might do us some good.
Do you know, Daniel, do you know where Euro 2024 is?
Germany.
It is.
Yeah.
And will anyone bitch and complain about the fact that they get to play all their games at home?
Can I give a different perspective on that?
Could you imagine us winning it in Germany?
Oh my God!
I like your energy.
As an England supporter, as a fat guy, and as a Jew, I think I would love to win it in Germany. It's coming.
Oh, look, fuck, please.
Do you know, in all seriousness, I'm proud of the boys for what they've achieved. And, a lot of people are throwing criticism at Gareth Southgate for, the game that he played and stuff, and tonight's, and it's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes, and on another day it might have it might have fallen for us, but you know what? It's a process. I know we're
Trust
fed
the
up of
process.
hearing that as an Arsenal fan. We hear that all the time.
Please
But
don't say
it
process.
is, and let me be honest. If it wasn't for this England team, I would be done with football. Like, honestly, Arsenal killed my passion for football. Like, honestly, the last season just killed
Daniel,
my passion.
hold on a second. Listen closely.
I'll say that I have to trust the process. I'll say that
Okay. Sorry, my friend. Keep going.
But the Arsenal season killed my passion for football. And I said after the season, I said, you know what, right? I ain't never ever watching football for 2 or 3 months, and then England just kind of, they captured the nation, they captured the spirit, and maybe the fans' over enthusiasm for being in a final maybe cost us. Maybe the players saw that and got a bit too carried away, because I did notice in this performance as well tonight that they weren't as focused as they usually are. They weren't as focused as, in every single game up until tonight, they were really focused, and you could see, like, you know what, they're not letting the progression or the occasion get to them. But tonight I saw a little bit of, wow, we're in a final. We need to actually perform. The whole weight of the nation's behind us. And I think that maybe have got to them. But you know what? I ain't making any excuses. Fair play to Italy. Listen, Donnarumma, do you know what I mean? Like, literally, he covered the goal. There's no way you're getting the ball past him. But also, I just want to say, Saka, keep your head up, son, because it hurts now, but you know what? You'll come back stronger. And isn't it ironic? The two most young, talented players in the tournament, both Saka and Kylian Mbappe, both missed penalties in their respective knockout games.
Daniel, that is a phenomenal point, and your judgment and your intuition about this game is incredible. And I agree with every single thing you just said, mate. So you know what? It's coming home 2020.
Oh, fuck, don't start again. Fuck's sake, give it a rest.
What's the bet there?
Hey, it's coming home. Hey, at least if it comes home in Qatar, I can go and see it.
And here, another thing as well.
To the Burj Khalifa, baby.
Can I make another point? Right, see this "It's Coming Home" song, and see when you sing it, and you still say 30 years of it. There's 50 fucking 5 years now. Okay,
I was getting ready to. Oh no!
While we're on the coming home part, I just needed to share this. Mikey, take the other one off. There you go.
All right, look, I deserve it. I understand that I've been very.
Yes, you do. That was the brainchild of Sebi. Mikey, he says hi for you, by the way.
Yeah, well, of course, I love Sebi and I hate Sebi.
Look, lads, look, don't worry about it. Here's my advice to English fans from a neutral. Okay, so next time round, don't be so fucking big-headed and start talking about the final when you're still in the group stage. Don't size up teams before you've not played the team before then.
Don't promise to get a tattoo when there's 16 teams left in the tournament.
Don't be doing your little fucking wanker dance.
That was my issue with Rio Ferdinand, right? When Rio was covering the Italy-Spain game, and he's just like, we're going to blow past these teams. I don't see anything that we can't. And like, they hadn't even played the Denmark game. So it's difficult. I'm going to say it's difficult because there's some.
There's a lot of nuance to this. Yes, England has a lot of that stuff, but we've talked about it in our private chat.
And I appreciate that chat.
It's projecting England's insecurities that has a lot to do with that. And you know what? When people project their insecurity, sometimes you just let them do it, and you don't come down on them for that. But
I will reiterate the point that I made on the other podcast. Okay, it's the fact that Blackburn have more to talk about being Premier League champions than England do.
I just want to say something, right? To your last point. In all fairness, the England players haven't been looking ahead to the final and not seeing the next game. It's the supporters that have been.
Well, and I'm not criticizing the England team as a group of players. I think they're a very good group of players.
He's criticizing.
I'm criticizing the fan base
No,
and the
was
media.
Was it Mount? Was it Mount that was taking the piss out of the Italians? I think it was Mount, or was somebody else? No, Mikey, with doing the Italian hand slang and training.
No one involved in England football has ever done anything wrong in their entire life.
I think
okay.
Pickford
We'll go with
did it
that. I
after
like
he
that.
saved his penalty.
Yeah.
When Pickford saved his last penalty, I think he was doing this.
All right.
Like, you
Steve,
have to watch that.
Mike's
He's
about to
wearing his
cancel
gloves.
us
You couldn't
off.
see him.
I have to say,
the whole point of this podcast was that by the end of the podcast, I would admit that it didn't come home and that I would feel better about
You
my
have to admit it.
And it's not going that way.
No, you're still you're digging in further. This is
the wrong crowd, Mike.
It's going to be a long podcast, gentlemen.
I thought I would cry on this podcast, and I will. I will afterwards. My son was on earlier. You understood what we shared and what we had to deal with in this situation. But look, if people want to be pleased, they can be pleased.
Can I just highlight a serious issue? And I don't want to sort of.
We did talk about this earlier, but I want to hear it from you.
I don't want to take this podcast to a whole serious level because I know this podcast is madness. But I just listen. Bukayo Saka missed the penalty, but it doesn't excuse the torrent of racist abuse that he's got on Instagram. I just want to say that's
they were ready and waiting.
acceptable.
Yeah,
despite the banter that everybody's had, despite the banter that we're all having on this podcast. Listen, he's a young lad. He's he's plying his trade. He had a bump in the road, but no player, whether you're black, white, pink with yellow spots on, deserves racist abuse. It's just mad.
And Daniel, 100%. We started off this podcast by saying that we were already seeing tweets. I mean, when you look at the 5 players that took penalties for Arsenal or for England, it's a disgustingly clear narrative, and we just hope that we wouldn't have seen it, and we're already seeing it. So
yeah,
Daniel, you're absolutely right. Your words are appreciated.
Do you know the thing? You know the thing is, Mike, right? When I've experienced it myself in respects to my disability, it just hits it home when you see it happen in a racist way. It just hits it home, and it just makes you kind of sick when you see that happening. Could you imagine, right? Yeah, if I was up there taking a penalty and missed it, I'll be
Daniel, and this may end my career as a person, but like if we had 5 blind people taking penalties, that probably would have been a problem, right, mate?
Do you know what, mate? We probably would have. Hey, listen, our sense of touch is better than
absolutely. No, I think you could have done it. And if you've seen the shootout that Andy and I did in Denver a couple of years ago for Gooners versus Cancer, then no one could do worse than that. So
let me tell you, blind people,
I don't want to hear the narrative.
Let me tell you, blind people make great goalkeepers because our sense of touch and the fact that we just put our bodies on the line. Hey, listen, I remember back in school, I saved a penalty just by someone smacking it right into my face. I was in tears, and I was only 12 at the time. I was in tears. Everybody was cheering me because I saved the penalty.
I love that, and I love how proud you are of that. That's amazing.
Do you want to know what? I think that is actually a really, really good place to finish off on. No, not a blind person being smacked in the face with a football when he was a child.
Nice one, Eoin.
But
you're taking the celebration thing way too.
The fact, what I would say I would like to finish off on is the fact that if this result shows us anything, all right, it's the level of support we have as Arsenal fans. I will be quite frank, and I have been quite frank. There is no team apart from United and Spurs I hate more than England. There's very little I would rather see than England losing. And I actually said to my brother just before, maybe it was a good thing to get that England got to the final, because they'll be 10 times more disappointed when they lose. But the fact that people like me, but the fact that people like me and Mike Hertz and people all over the world now are sitting there and they're not enjoying this because it's an Arsenal boy that has to go through the misery of missing a penalty in a national final. It's I think it just shows the level of support that everybody has for Arsenal Football Club and its players.
Well, and I wish it hadn't come to that. I if Jorginho had hit that penalty as he has hit every penalty, the narrative about Arsenal and Saka wouldn't be there, and all of the viciousness about England versus Italy would have been there.
Let's blame Chelsea.
Well,
I like that idea.
Well, we should.
Chelsea, because their player didn't score.
We should.
I hope that's
we should, but
not the defining moment that people remember Saka for. I hope that
it won't be. It will not be.
I hope.
No, he's too young.
When people say Bukayo Saka, I don't want them to immediately think, "Oh, he missed a penalty." I want them to think of all the stuff that he'd done before. And remember, in this tournament, he was one of the shining lights. They're
gonna think of all the things that he's done after, and whether it's for Arsenal or England, we'll see. But that will not define his career. I have never been more confident in something that Bukayo Saka's career is not going to be defined by what just happened in the last couple hours.
No.
The fact that he was the first choice substitute, that he played in front of Grealish and Sancho and Bellingham and Mount in some cases, I guess. That's what will be. That guy's going to be so much better for Arsenal this fall because of his experience this summer, and it doesn't even not because of the penalty they missed. So, as disappointed and as gutted as I am about this, as devastated as I am that yet again Arsenal or England has not won the tournament. There's so much to look forward to, and fuck, I mean, now I got to wear. What do I got to do? I got to wear.
Sure, he got our merchandise.
Yes. He's not got the best merchandise, to tell you that much.
It's awful.
It's
just going to be great because it's going to be really tight on you too.
The website is still promoting like a Black Friday, like November 2020 thing. I'm not even sure that the website's still operational, but if it is,
I'll one way to find out. You let us know, Mike.
Mike, I have a friend that prints shirts. We'll get you one.
Oh, so even if his website's not open, you're gonna.
I'll make you a personalized League Gunner one, just like a big, just League.
Just his face.
Yeah,
just like there.
No, the LG thing I'm fine with. If it's his face, then no.
LG could mean anything.
We're gonna have to wait till the next World Cup.
It's gonna be Orange Cassidy, Mike, and it looks like Lee Gunner.
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah,
I'll wear all kinds of Orange Cassidy.
Before Owen, do you want to say your goodbyes? Because I noticed in the private chat that you said you need to go.
Yeah, I gotta go, boys. I've got to get up with a young child in the morning. My daughter, not any young child. That would be weird.
Put some context on that.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I better do that quite quickly.
Random young children are waking up in your home.
Right. Anyway, boys, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Go Italy,
Owen.
It's coming home.
Congratulations.
Mike.
No. I think it's pretty much not at this point.
Está tornando a casa.
What he said.
Italian.
Good luck. Bye.
Grazie. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Steven.
Goodbye.
We're gonna see each other soon, mate. Right?
Yeah. At some point. I'm not sure when, but yeah.
You're not coming to Orlando?
No, man, I can't make that happen. But I'll try. I'm still trying to send on you some things for Gooners versus Cancer, so you can have the raffle and do things out there.
All right. Well, you've always been very supportive. I appreciate that. And Daniel Bailey, my friend, thanks for joining us for the entirety of this podcast, sharing your misery with us, and letting us share it with you. Bud, we love you. We'll talk to you soon.
No, it's a pleasure. It's absolutely always a pleasure, Mike. Anytime you need me, just give me a shout, and I'll always be there. So, big supporter of your channel, big supporter of the podcast, and I know you've helped me out with things privately and stuff. So yeah, listen, mate, it's always a pleasure.
Hey, well, you know what? It's not coming home, but our podcast is still going strong. So come on, you non-England Gooners.